Hey, what's up? I'm going to try this on a different setting. So I turn my camera setting down a little bit. Hopefully it doesn't affect the video. I don't think it will. I'll show you this. Here's my paperwork on my 400 board foot order. Some of it's there, some of it's stacked over there, some of it's up on here. I need 32 board feet to get the 400. I'm gonna give them a couple extra pieces. So I have a log up on the mill, and if you ever ask yourself, how do you know what's in that log? If you've worked at a lumber yard and you have a scale and you work off of, let's just say, Scribner scale, you know how to figure that out. But if you don't, what if you don't have a scale and you've never done it before? I'll tell you how I do it, and what I can tell you is that I come out very, very, very close on every log. This one right here, I hit my number exactly what I thought I was going to take out for board feet. I hit. If I counted that 2x and that 1x that I cut, my order came out, as you can see, it was 102. I had the log scaled at 112, I think. And then I had that 2x8 by, it's probably like 9. And then that little 1x4 there left over. So if you add those in, I mean, I hit the 212 perfect. And that's what I had the log scaled at. This particular log right here will show you how I scale this log. So I measured it. And I took my measurement. If you can see they used a conventional cut on that one. You can see the taper. I went kind of the front of the taper, and then I kind of round down. So let's say that the front of the taper is like 11.4. I just went at 11 feet, okay? And then you measure the small round part of the log, which in this case was 12 inches. And if you look at the math on this, first you have to figure out, if you don't have a scale, how big a cant you're going to get. So if you take your 12 inches on your small end times 70%, you're going to get about an 8.4 inch cant. And that, guys, listen, I've seen 100 different ways to do this. You can do half and half. So half is 6, and then half of 6 is 3. So half and half will tell you you're going to get a 9. Guys, the 70% is the best way to go. So I'm going to get an 8 now. Let's just use 8.4. So you take the 8.4, multiply it by 8.4. Right now we're trying to come up with board feet. And multiply it by 132 inches long, 11 feet. And you get a big number around 9,000. You divide that number by 144, which, if you ever wonder what this number is, one board foot is 1 inch thick by 12 inches wide by 12 inches long. So if you want to get to 1, you multiply the 1, the 12, and the 12, you'll get 144. If you wonder what you have to divide that by, you have to get to 1. So it's 144. So that's how you remember the 144. So you divide by 144, that gives you 64.68 board feet. And then you have to take into consideration imperfections in the log. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, this log is straight, it's round. There's no imperfections in it. So I think, let's go look at the other side, because I should have it painted on there what I scaled this at. So I scaled this at 65. It's upside down, but I scaled this at 65 whenever I did it. So you'd get at least 65 out of that. It's perfect. If you want to saw some stuff out of your jacket cuts here, out of your slab cuts and out of your jacket cuts, and you probably get over 65. But just the cant will give you 64.6 board feet just out of the cant, if you don't cut the cant. So even the cant itself is 64.68. You're going to lose some kerf, so 64 in the cant, depending on how you saw it. Let's look at a different log. You have to take imperfections into consideration. This particular log right here, scaled out at like 100. I can't see all the numbers on it. It's scaled out at like 100. But right here, there is a saw cut right through it. And it's not super deep, but it's deep enough. So I had to adjust down for that. And what I did was I shortened the length of the log in my scale to the other side of that, which is like 8 feet. And then that took my scale down to 60. Other ones, you're going to have to be creative. Like this one scaled wrong. This one scaled at 120, I think. Off the small end, there's a pretty good sweep in it. Now, could you get 120 out of this? Maybe, because just as long as I measured it off the small end, scaled off the small end, I bet I didn't because I have it painted up here. I might not have been able to see this in the pile and thought that it was that round. Oh, sorry. I might not have been able to see this in the pile because it's painted on the big end and it shouldn't be. So this is probably scaled wrong, but you'd have to take into consideration that sweep and how much you're going to take off for that. And you kind of have to get creative because even if you use a Scribner scale to do it, you have to know how much to downgrade the log to take off for it. So this particular one right here would be a straight guess, and if you end up with imperfect logs, it's going to be a guess. You should scale it off this end. I would scale it at full length. I would scale it at whatever I thought I was going to get for a diameter. I might lower my diameter for any sweep a little bit and then scale it off whatever that diameter is. So let's just say that this, let's just say the cant you could get out of this at 70% is going to be about 12 inches. You might just take it down to 10 and do it that way, you know, knowing that that's all getting cut off and so on and so forth. Or a log like this that has a big curve in it. So you have to get a little creative with imperfect logs, but on straight round logs, you can scale them pretty easily just using cant size. So that's how I do it. I'm going to get the cut and I'm going to throw you guys in the video thing here and cut. One other concern, I'm going to talk to you about blades for a second. So my grinding setup, I actually, hold on, I'm just putting you in the holder. My grinding setup I came up with before I got my mill. I wanted to make sure that I had everything in place before I got my mill. I had my tractor, my grinder, and I already tried it. I already tested it on somebody else's bands to know that proof of concept wise it would work. I actually came up on my setter, I already had tested that. And all before the mill showed up. These bands that I've been running, if you've gone back and you see the comparison between the Norwood Sabertooth bands, and those are 1.25 inch, 42 thousandths bands, 42 thousandths thick, 7-degree rake angle. I think when they're sharp, they cut great. What I can tell you is that they don't last very long, even cutting clean wood. Even cutting clean wood, I'm seeing them getting dull after a couple hundred board feet. Yesterday, I cut mainly, the first cant that I cut was a cant, so it was completely clean. What I got these boards out of, okay? What I took those boards out of was a completely clean cant. I ended up getting 200 board feet minus the 14 footers were already cut. So let's just say basically I was 196 plus 18. So you had 214. These don't count. So I cut 196 board feet minus 28. So 168 board feet out of that one cant. I cut 168 board feet. Then I cut that log. That log was ended up being oh, it's all included. No, 52, 96. It was 52 board feet, minus a couple of. So let's just say if I took the 316 and minus out 102, I cut 202 board feet minus 28, something like that. 316 minus 102 is 214 minus 28, so 188 or 186 board feet. 186 board feet on that band, and relatively clean wood because I debarked too. Didn't hit any metal. That band's already starting to show signs of getting dull. So basically 200 board feet of clean softwood. That band's already starting to get dull. So I have been running them against the Wood-Mizer Silvertip Turbo 7s, and I'll admit that I only got the Turbo 7s because they were 7 degree. I thought the profile might be the same, but I anticipated it being slightly different. And Nathan at Out in the Woods runs them, so I figured I'd try them. I got them out of Days Sawmill Blades, and they have advertisements all over Facebook, but if you call Days Sawmill Blades, the Wood-Mizer bands were fairly inexpensive. The same thing, 1.25" 042, 7 degree rake angle. They're the Silvertip Turbo 7, so they're hard. The tips are hardened. I don't know how long those last, but my intuition's telling me, because I've been running out my saber-tooth bands because my rock's profiled to them. So when I have to sharpen them, I don't have to change my rock. So I'm waiting on running more of the Silvertip Turbo 7s until I go through my saber-tooth bands. But I can tell you right now that if I have to change out a saber-tooth band every 2 clean logs, that's just not worth it to me to run them. I'm going to see how this one cuts in this log. I better not have to change it. The saber-tooths react real poorly to, if you're one of those guys that doesn't run water, forget about it. I start getting wavy cuts when I run out of water. I will cut flat. If I run out of water, or let's just say, I didn't turn it on, it's insta wavy in softwood. So it's a marked difference. So I'm concerned about the saber-tooths. They don't seem to hold an edge very well. I don't know how long my resharps last, but they seem to last at least as long as, a new band, at least as long. But I am going to start running the Silvertip Turbo 7s pretty shortly. I was going to bring one out and show it off in the softwood, but I decided, stick with my plan and run out my saber-tooth so I can start sharpen and reusing them until they're no good anymore. So anyway, long story short, I'm not real happy with those saber-tooth bands as far as what I'm getting out of them. I mean, my dad used to say, liars can figure and figures don't lie. The figures don't lie. I cut 102 board feet. I changed bands after I got this log into a cant. I cut that out, and then I cut another log that you guys watched on video yesterday afternoon. I ended up with 316 board feet total. If I minus out the 102, I cut 200 board feet-ish on that band right there in clean wood. A cant and a log I debarked, all softwood, and that band's already starting to get dull. So it is what it is. If you don't mind cutting wavy wood, then that band will probably go and go and go. If you're one of those guys that cuts and cuts and cuts until the band breaks, and you don't really give a shit about it being flat lumber, so be it, and that's fine. I'm not damning you for it. But you know, maybe you can cut 1,000, maybe you can cut 2,000 board feet. But I've seen tests on some bands that, what's his name? He's got the Timber King 2020. Can't remember his name. Navy guy, engineer. Thomas. But anyway, he's got a Timber King, and he did a bunch of blade testing. If you look under blade band testing, he did a bunch of band testing. He's done a bunch of videos on Mr. Robert. I think he's in Tennessee, that resharpens bands. You know, he had some bands. He tested a carbide band that went over like 2,000 board feet. Over 2,000. I know that he's tested other bands that go really long on his Timber King. That's running high rate of speed, and you know, really putting them through the rigors. These won't go anywhere close to 1,000. Not even close. You know, I'd really be pushing on it by, I guarantee I'd be pushing on it by 400. I could have never, ever, ever cut this order on one band. The one that I took off was whooped. So I tried to use it in the cant, and it was whooped. It was rubbing on the back guides, pushing on it. That's how hard it was. So that's enough of that. I'll start cutting. I know this is going to get long here. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to title this video how to scale a log without a timber scale. I'm going to stop it and restart and shoot the milling of this. It shouldn't take very long. It's debarked. It'll roll easy. But rather than running this video through the roof, you know, I think the other one will get a lot of hits on itself. I think scaling logs without a lumber scale. So I'm going to stop it and restart a new one. And for those of you who watch, thanks very much. Hit me up with comments, whatever. Like, subscribe, share, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care. I'm not monetized. Any questions, hit me up. I answer everything back. So thanks, and I'll shoot another video.